guys, welcome back. It's Shelby. Today I am making coasters out of the air dry clay. It's the same stuff I used to make the starfish candle holders. If you haven't seen that video and want to check it out, I'll put it in the corner. Also, I will link everything you need to make this project down in the description along with my socials. Please give the video a thumbs up if you like it, and please subscribe if you'd like to see more DIY tutorials, and we'll get right into it. So I'm starting with a bag of polyform air dry clay. This is the same stuff I used for my candle holder video, and I'm putting it on a piece of parchment and covering it with another one just to keep everything nice and clean. And then I'm using my rolling pin just to roll it out flat, kind of the way you would just like cookie dough. I'm going for slightly less than maybe 1/4 of an inch thick, just kind of the size that you would want coasters to be. And it's actually a little bit more difficult to roll out than I thought it would be. So I'm glad I used the rolling pin. There's no way I would have gotten that flat otherwise. And then I just take my, well, I'm going to call it a cookie cutter. It's really just a water glass, but it's round and it's about the size that I want my coasters to be. So I'm using that to cut out the coasters with, which worked out really well. Like it just went right on and then they popped out super easily, which was great. But the clay did leave this little ring around the outside. You can kind of see it there. So what I did was I took a little bit of water in a bowl, and I'm just going to use that to smooth out the sides of the coaster. This worked really well. I wasn't quite sure because I hadn't gotten this type of clay wet before, but it just smoothed right in kind of like normal clay. It didn't give me any hassle or anything, and it really didn't mess it up later when it was drying. So this was definitely a good call and something I would suggest if you are making this project yourself. And that's one coaster basically done as far as the clay goes. I just put it off to the side and started on another one. So once I got the hang of this down, it actually went pretty quickly. I'm not going to show me doing all 8 of them, but I did choose to make 8 coasters. I'm not 100% sure how many come in a set, but I feel like it's either 6 or 8. And with my luck, I'll probably lose or break some later. So I decided to make 8. Those are my first 2. And then basically I'm just taking the scrap clay and smushing it all back together. I'm trying really hard not to make air bubbles in it, so I'm just kind of laying it flat on each other. And then I'm going to repeat the process. I'm just going to put it between the 2 pieces of parchment paper and roll it out with my rolling pin. And I mean, eventually I did have to add more clay, but this is just like the basic rinse and repeat until you've got your 8 coasters. So that's another one. I'm smoothing down the edges just with the water. Really not a lot of water. You're just going to want to dip your fingertip in it and just kind of smooth it until it goes back into place. And basically done. Those are my 8 coasters. They turned out really well. I'm just kind of smoothing any of the wrinkles that the parchment put in with my finger. And that's them. I did leave them to dry. Initially it was overnight, but it ended up taking 2 days, so that 24-hour drying time on the package is definitely not accurate. I would say a full 48 hours if you want to do anything with them. And now on to decorating. I have my E6000 and I have these little decorative paper flowers that I got from the craft store. They don't feel like paper, they kind of feel like a foam almost, but they're really thin, and I've been looking for a project to use them for. I kind of bought them on a whim, but they're gold, and I love putting gold in my projects, as you guys know, but I didn't want to just like spray paint the edges of these gold because I feel like you guys are getting sick of me doing that, but I did want gold on them because I love that and I think it's super cute. So I had these flowers and I was just like, oh, that's perfect, so I'm going to do that. And basically what I wanted to do was I wanted them to be different, but like obviously belong to a set, so I decided to make 2 of them the same. So I had 4 different ones, but 2 of them look the same. So I just lined them up, and you can see on the left there I've got the 2 flowers, and I'm just trying to make the top row match the bottom row. And then I'm going to be attaching them with my E6000 glue once I get the flowers all lined up. And I also decided that I don't want all of the flowers right on top necessarily. You'll notice I have some of the big flowers hanging off, and I'm actually going to kind of press those down and over the side so it almost looks like the flowers are hanging off them. And these are super easy to apply. They're pretty flimsy, but they're not like paper flimsy, so they didn't rip or anything, but they did press down pretty easily. Some of them kind of scooted up again, but then you just go back in and press them down again. And then I did eventually end up flipping it over and letting it dry for a little while, and I think that was a really good call and helped with it. but it went on pretty quickly. I did speed this process up. It took me probably about 5 minutes to get them all down. It really wasn't that long at all. The majority of it was just kind of fighting the glue, because once your tube gets down to about halfway, it starts, every time you put it down, it starts like ejecting the glue onto your surface. So I did have to stop a few times and like clean that up, but otherwise it's not that big of a deal. And I think it's probably just because I squeezed the tube too hard. But putting the flowers down themselves was super easy. They really didn't slide around. They didn't move around. And the glue, since it's clear, if you put too much on the flower and it kind of like ends up on the sides, it's really not that noticeable. It does wipe off pretty easily if you catch it right away. But it's just really like this clear little shiny spot. It's not something that you really have to worry about or that really messed up the look at all. There were a couple places on mine that it like snuck out a little bit, but it wasn't even a big deal at all. So you can kind of see like the rough shape of where the flowers are right now. It looked better once the petals were pressed down into place, but these are the general shapes that I ended up with, and they're really cute. I'm really happy with them. So I'm going to flip everything over right now and just have the weight of the coaster press the flowers and the glue down into them. And then I decided I want these to be just a little bit extra blingy, a little bit extra pretty, and decorated on the bottom. But then also, most coasters, if you notice, have like a felt or something on the bottom so that the coaster themselves don't scratch your furniture. So I decided my coasters needed little feet, and I went to my multicolored adhesive gems. And basically they're strip gems, but I just ripped each little gem off the strip, which worked really well. And then the adhesive kind of backing stayed on it. And it let me move it around a little bit on the coasters, which was great. But then they stayed pretty well. I figured if they didn't, I could glue them down, but that actually didn't need to happen. Like, it stayed pretty well. And if they fall off in the future, I'll just glue them down and give them a little bit extra stability in that way. But this part went really fast as well, and I think it added just a really nice kind of extra touch to the coasters. And I know it's gonna protect, if you put it on wood furniture or anything, like, I think, dried clay might possibly scratch it. I don't know for sure, but if it's like a softer wood or softer finish, it might. But these just kind of ensure that it won't, because they're plastic and they've got the flat top, but they're also super cute. They're shiny, they reflect different colors, so I like that, and I think that it gives a more finished look to the coasters themselves, and it makes them pretty on both the top and the bottom, so that's super cute. And it really didn't take very long to apply. They were really easy to apply, as they always are, which is why I love these gems, and I'm definitely going to start making more projects with them because they're just so easy to work with, and I really like the results. I like the way that they turn out and they reflect well. And finishing this up, that's honestly it. Like, it was a really easy, simple project, and they turned out beautifully. I'm going to be putting some pictures up next, but I really hope that you like them. And if you try them, you let me know how it works out, because I really love this project. I think it was easy to make. I think they turned out really well. You can see I've got the 4 sets of 2, and those are the fronts and the backs of each. And these are the painted wine glasses that I did. I'll link those if you want to see that video. But they're super cute on them. You can see they're the perfect size for holding a wine glass. And I'm really excited for these. I think they turned out really well. I think they're super cute. I can't wait to start using them. And I hope you guys liked the video, and I'll see you soon. Bye.